He shouldn't have done it. But when his hands pressed against her shoulders, Lucas Reed felt a jolt that made him question everything he'd ever believed about friendship, loyalty, and desire. Maya Reedman didn't flinch. Not at first. She just let herself sink into the touch, as if years of exhaustion, of pretending, of carrying invisible burdens had been waiting for this single moment. And Lucas knew, he knew, that once this line had been crossed, nothing would ever feel the same again. He could feel it in the small way her body trembled, in the half-closed eyes that didn't meet his, in the whisper that slipped out before either of them had a chance to think twice. That actually helps. The words were innocent, casual even, but to Lucas they sounded like permission and danger rolled into one. He should have stopped, turned around, walked out and pretended none of it had happened. Instead, he stayed. Because staying meant feeling more alive than he had in years, feeling closer to her than he ever dared, feeling a pull that was stronger than reason, stronger than friendship, stronger than everything he thought he owed his best friend. And somewhere, deep inside, he already knew the question he couldn't ask aloud. What if feeling this right was also the beginning of losing everything he cared about? He didn't have an answer. He only had her shoulders under his hands, the quiet rhythm of her breathing, and the creeping certainty that his life had just changed forever. Lucas glanced at the bookstore around them, the empty shelves, the dim lights, but it no longer felt like Marcus's store. It felt like the world had shrunk to this room, to this moment, and to Maya's fragile, tired presence. The rain outside hammered the windows like a warning. But inside, there was no weather, no distraction, no escape, only tension and the dangerous gravity pulling them together. "Are you sure you want me to do this?" Lucas asked, trying to sound casual, but failing. His own words surprised him, because he already knew he didn't want her to say no. She looked at him, and for a heartbeat, the world fell silent. Then she whispered, almost to herself, "I don't know what else to do." It was the kind of confession that shouldn't have existed between them. Not yet, not like this. But it hung there anyway. Heavier than the rain. Heavier than the months of silence. Heavier than Lucas could carry. He exhaled slowly, trying to convince himself that this was just a massage, that this was nothing more than two friends navigating pain. But when her voice trembled again, when the heat of her shoulder met his palm, Lucas understood something crucial. Nothing between them was ever going to be just nothing. And somewhere, in the shadowed corners of his mind, a single question pulsed like an alarm. What happens if he can't walk away from this, even when he knows he should? Lucas didn't realize how long he'd stood there, hands frozen on her shoulders, until Maya shifted slightly and looked up at him. Her eyes were tired, darkened by weeks of sleepless nights and the strain of her divorce. Yet they held something sharper. Something that made him catch his breath. "You really know what you're doing," she said, voice low, almost vulnerable. He shook his head, forcing a chuckle he didn't feel. "Not really, just trying to help. That's all." Maya let out a soft exhale, and it was the kind of sigh that could undo a man if he wasn't careful. Lucas wanted to step back, wanted to pretend this was simple, but the air between them seemed to thicken with every heartbeat. Every movement of his hand seemed louder, heavier, charged. "Lucas," she whispered, almost a warning. "I haven't felt this calm in months. This normal. Do you know what that's like after someone leaves your life, after everything you thought you knew collapses?" He swallowed hard. "Yeah, I do." Her gaze didn't waver. "Then why does it feel like you're betraying someone by helping me feel better?" Because he was. He knew it. Marcus would kill him if he knew. But worse, Marcus had been his anchor for years, the brother he chose, the friend he trusted with everything. And here he was, treading dangerously close to losing it all. "It's complicated," Lucas admitted, his fingers tightening just slightly, pressing into the knots in her shoulders he could feel but couldn't fix. "Sometimes, doing the right thing for someone else doesn't feel right for you." Maya tilted her head, studying him. "And what about you, Lucas? What's right for you?" He hesitated. Part of him wanted to be honest. Part of him wanted to retreat, pretend this was a professional gesture, a fleeting moment. But he couldn't. He had already crossed the line. "I don't know," he said quietly. "But staying here with you like this, it feels like it might be something I can't walk away from." She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she leaned back slightly, letting the tension ease just enough for him to notice how thin she had become, how fragile, how real, and that whisper, the one that had frozen him the first time. "I feel safer with you." Lucas froze again. The words weren't just a confession. They were a surrender, a truth he couldn't ignore. "I don't know what to say to that," he admitted, voice low. I shouldn't feel this way." She turned her head, searching his eyes. "Why not? Because of Marcus?" "Because of Marcus. Because of Emma. Because everything was layered with consequences he wasn't ready to face." He nodded, unable to lie. Maya's lips curved faintly. "Then we're both terrified, huh?" "Yes," he whispered, "terrified." The rain outside had slowed, leaving only the quiet rhythm of droplets against the roof. It felt intimate, like the world outside didn't exist, except it did. And it carried Marcus, oblivious, coming home any moment, unaware of the tension brewing in his own bookstore. Lucas stepped back, letting his hands drop. "We shouldn't be doing this," he said, more to himself than her. "This isn't normal." Maya's eyes didn't leave him. "Normal hasn't been an option for me in a long time. Maybe it's time to try something different." Quote. He wanted to argue, to insist on boundaries, to retreat to safety, but the truth was heavier than fear. He wanted her. Not just the connection, not just the comfort, but her. Every part of her. Complicated, messy, alive. "Lucas," she breathed, "I don't want to go back to being alone. Not like before, not after everything I've been through." His chest tightened. He wanted to tell her everything, to make promises he couldn't keep, to erase the past 3 years of her pain with a single decision. But reality intruded. Marcus's absence had been temporary, and soon he would be back. He couldn't hide this, and he couldn't let it spiral into something that would shatter everything around them. "We can't," he said softly. "Not yet. We have to figure this out first." Her fingers brushed his arm, just a light touch, and it felt like an electric current. "Figure it out." "How?" Lucas swallowed. "By being honest with ourselves. By not pretending this is just a massage. By admitting that something's already happened, and it can't be undone." Quote. Maya nodded slowly, understanding the weight of his words. She pressed a hand to her shoulder, almost absent-mindedly, as if grounding herself in the truth she didn't yet fully accept. "Then we start there," she said, acknowledging it. "Feeling it. Whatever this is between us, we can't ignore it anymore." He exhaled, relief and dread twisting inside him. Relief because they were finally admitting it. Dread because Marcus would return soon, and nothing would be the same. The bookstore door creaked suddenly, startling both of them. Lucas glanced toward the entrance. Empty. Probably just the wind. He nodded at her, silently agreeing that this, right here, right now, was a safe pause before the storm. "You feel it too, right?" she asked, almost shyly. "I do," he admitted, "more than I should, and less than I want to." Maya's lips curved into a faint, knowing smile. "Perfect, exactly the way I feel." Lucas laughed softly, tension easing just enough for a moment of fragile comfort. "So, we're in agreement?" "For now," she said, "until we figure out what comes next." Quote. And somewhere, deep in the back of his mind, Lucas knew what came next would change everything. But for the first time in weeks, he felt like he could breathe, like they could face it together, even if it meant risking the people he loved most. Because some connections were worth the cost. Some connections couldn't be ignored, even if ignoring them might have been the safer choice. The clock above the bookstore ticked slowly, each second hammering in Lucas's chest. He couldn't focus on the shelves, the books, the quiet rhythm of the store. His mind was consumed by the memory of Maya's shoulders under his hands, the warmth of her skin, the way she looked at him like she was letting him see something no one else ever had. And now, Marcus was coming back. Any minute. Lucas swallowed hard, trying to push the dread down. He and Maya had spent the last 2 weeks walking a tightrope of honesty and secrecy, inching closer with every text, every stolen coffee, every casual moment. But reality didn't wait. Reality didn't negotiate. Reality meant Marcus would be home in hours, and everything they'd admitted, everything they'd felt, would be tested. Maya shifted beside him, quiet but alert, as if she could feel the tension radiating from him. "Are you sure this was a good idea?" she asked softly, not looking at him. "I don't know," Lucas admitted. "But if we wait, it just gets harder. And I can't pretend like nothing happened anymore. Can you?" She shook her head, voice barely above a whisper. "No. Not after what we said, after what we felt." He wanted to nod, wanted to tell her it would be fine, that somehow they could navigate this without anyone getting hurt. But Marcus wasn't just anyone. He was Lucas's oldest friend, his brother in everything that mattered. And now, he was about to walk into a room where the two most important people in his life had already crossed a line. The sound of a car pulling up outside made Lucas flinch, the familiar rumble, the scrape of tires on the gravel parking lot. Marcus. Already. Earlier than expected. Maya's hand brushed his arm. "He's here." Quote. Lucas nodded, taking a deep breath. He felt her presence steady him, like a lifeline in a storm he couldn't yet see the end of. "We do this together," he said quietly. "Yes," she whispered. They stood, moving toward the front of the store, the familiar bells above the door ready to announce their presence, and the storm waiting just beyond it. Lucas opened the door first, letting Maya step behind him. Marcus was there, standing by the counter, eyes sharp, expression carefully neutral but impossible to read. Lucas felt his chest tighten. He had never seen Marcus like this. Calm, controlled, but with a tension that could snap at any moment. "Evening," Marcus said, voice flat, just enough warmth to hide the edge he couldn't. "You two ready to talk?" Lucas nodded. Maya stayed quiet, letting him take the lead. He could feel her trembling slightly behind him, and it both terrified and exhilarated him. Marcus gestured for them to sit. "On the floor," he said, motioning to the open space near the fiction shelves. Lucas and Maya complied, placing themselves in the uneven triangle of trust, loyalty, and betrayal. Marcus's gaze shifted between them, intense and unyielding. "I know something happened while I was away," he began, voice low. "I don't know everything, and I don't need details, but I need to know the truth from both of you. Now." Lucas swallowed. The moment had arrived. The truth, raw and unavoidable. "Marcus," he started, voice steady despite the panic building in his chest. "We need to be honest. Maya and we've developed feelings, strong feelings. And we didn't tell you immediately, because we wanted to understand them ourselves before dragging you into it. That was wrong. And I'm sorry." Maya's voice was soft but firm. "It wasn't a game, Marcus. It wasn't disrespect or manipulation. It was just me, realizing I feel something I haven't felt in years. Lucas has been steady, kind, patient. He sees me, and I needed to process that before anyone else got hurt, including you." Marcus's jaw tightened. 2 weeks? "Yes," Lucas admitted. 2 weeks since the night in the bookstore. We were trying to figure it out without causing unnecessary damage. But I realize now that keeping it from you was causing damage." Maya nodded, eyes glistening. "I wasn't trying to hide it from you to hurt you. I didn't know how to handle it." Marcus ran a hand through his hair, pacing slowly. "You think that makes it okay?" His voice was controlled, but the tension in it made Lucas flinch. "You think deciding I couldn't handle the truth, that you could manage the situation for me, is okay?" "No," Lucas said quickly. "I know it's not okay. That's why we're here. To be honest, to face it with you, not to manipulate, not to sneak around, just to tell you." Marcus stopped pacing, leaning against the counter. "Do you understand what this does, both of you? You've created a situation that affects everything. My trust in my best friend, my relationship with my sister, the way I see both of you. The way Emma sees the adults in her life. Lucas nodded, voice low. I do. Every word you're saying, I feel it too. I didn't want it to happen this way, but it did. And we want to make it right. Whatever that means. Maya added, we're not asking for permission, Marcus. We're asking for understanding. Eventually. We know this is complicated, and that it hurts. We know that. But we're not going to pretend nothing exists between us anymore. Marcus closed his eyes briefly, taking in a deep breath. When he opened them, they were still hard, but not completely closed. You hurt me, he said finally, but I see you're being honest now, and I appreciate that. I can't say I forgive you yet. I'm not sure I ever will completely, but I will try. Because Emma matters, and because I don't want to lose my best friend or my sister's happiness. Lucas exhaled, relief and guilt coiling together. Thank you, he said simply. Marcus's gaze shifted to Maya. And you're my sister. I love you, and I don't want to see you hurt, but I can't ignore that what you felt or feel for Lucas complicates everything. I need to see that you're thinking clearly, that you understand the consequences before I can fully accept this. Maya nodded, voice soft but steady. I understand. And I care about Lucas, Marcus. I wouldn't jeopardize what we have with you or with Emma. That's why we're being upfront now, instead of hiding it. Marcus rubbed his face, exhaling slowly. Fine. We'll figure it out, slowly, step by step. No more secrets. No more guessing. Honesty from here on out. Can you do that? We can, Lucas said. We will, Maya confirmed. Marcus nodded once, slowly, a fragile truce forming between them. Good. Because if this blows up, it affects more than just you two. It affects all of us. Emma. Me. You. So, tread carefully. Lucas met his friend's eyes. We will, I promise. Marcus's expression softened slightly. And one more thing, don't screw this up. Because if either of you hurts the other, I'll be angry. And yes, it will be complicated, but I'll still be here. Hopefully. Lucas allowed himself a small ironic smile. Noted, quote, Maya's hand brushed Lucas's, subtle, unspoken. A reminder that, even under Marcus's scrutiny, they weren't walking alone. The bookstore settled into a tense quiet, the shelves and books around them witnesses to a fragile reconciliation, a recognition that nothing would ever be the same. And yet, for Lucas and Maya, it also felt like a permission slip, a chance to explore something that had been building for years, dangerous and undeniable. Because some connections didn't wait for permission. Some connections refused to be ignored. And Marcus, despite his anger, despite the betrayal, had given them the one thing they needed most, a chance. The store was quieter now, but the weight of what had just happened lingered like a shadow over every shelf, every book, every memory of laughter and routine. Lucas stood behind the counter, pretending to reorganize stacks of novels, while Marcus busied himself with invoices, occasionally glancing up as if to remind them both that he was watching. Maya sat nearby, legs crossed, hands wrapped around a mug of lukewarm coffee, eyes tracing the patterns of the wood floor, as though it held answers. Lucas wanted to reach for her, to brush a strand of hair from her face, to remind her that he was still there. But every time he moved even slightly, Marcus's presence anchored him. This is awkward, Maya finally admitted, voice low. Yes, Lucas said softly, awkward is one word for it. Terrifying is another. She glanced at him, a small, rueful smile tugging at her lips. You think Marcus can actually forgive this? Quote. Lucas shook his head. I don't know, but he's trying, and that counts for something, doesn't it? Quote. Maya nodded, but her gaze fell to her mug again. I don't want him to hate me. He won't, Lucas said quietly. Not forever. He just needs time, and patience, and honesty. She looked up, eyes sharp, meeting his. And what about us? What happens if Marcus doesn't, if he can't accept this? Quote. Lucas hesitated. That question had haunted him all night. Every step they took, every word, every glance carried the weight of consequences. Then, we figure out how to be careful, how to protect him, Emma, and still be honest with ourselves. I don't know exactly how, but I won't run from this. Maya's hand found his under the table, subtle, almost accidental. The warmth, the light pressure was enough to make his chest tighten. He could feel the pull of her presence, the dangerous gravity that had started in the bookstore 2 weeks ago, and now felt stronger, undeniable. "Lucas," she whispered, "last night in the bookstore, that wasn't just about my shoulders, was it?" Quote, he swallowed hard, the words he had been holding back for days finally clawing their way out. "No, it wasn't just your shoulders, and it wasn't just a massage. It was everything. The closeness, the trust, feeling like you could be yourself and I could be more than just your friend." Her fingers tightened around his. "More than just my friend," she echoed, voice trembling slightly. "You know what that means, right? That we're already crossing lines." Quote, "I know," he admitted, "and I don't regret it, not even for a second. But I also know we have to be careful. Marcus is here, and Emma, everything is on the line." They sat in silence for a moment, the store around them humming with a quiet, almost sacred stillness. Every creak of the floorboards, every distant car horn, every rustle of paper felt amplified, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Then Maya spoke, voice barely audible. "Do you ever think about, what if we just ignore the rules for one night? One moment where it's just us, and the rest of the world doesn't exist?" Lucas's heart skipped. The thought had crossed his mind countless times, unspoken, dangerous. "Every day," he admitted, eyes locked on hers, "and every day I fight it. Because Marcus. Because Emma. Because it's not just about us anymore." She nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "But it's hard to pretend like we're not here, like we're not feeling this. It's impossible." "It is," he whispered. "Impossible. And yet we can't ignore it." Quote, a sudden sound from the back of the store, a book shifting on a shelf, made both of them jump slightly. Marcus hadn't moved, hadn't said anything, but the reminder of his presence was sharp, a constant boundary pressing against their desire. Lucas reached for her hand again, a tentative gesture, just enough to remind her that he was there, that he wasn't leaving, that she wasn't alone in this impossible tension. Maya let him hold it, her fingers intertwining briefly with his, a silent acknowledgement of the connection they couldn't deny. "You realize," she said, voice quiet, "that once we take the next step, there's no going back. Not really." "I know," he admitted. "But I also know that pretending nothing is happening, that's worse. It's dishonest. And we can't do that anymore. Not with each other, not with Marcus, not with Emma." Maya leaned back slightly, letting out a long breath. "So we just sit here, waiting, feeling everything, saying nothing." Lucas nodded. "For now, and when the time comes, we'll face it together. Whatever happens, we face it together." Quote, she smiled, faint, bittersweet. "Together," she echoed. The tension in the room remained, thick and palpable, but now there was a thread of possibility woven through it, a fragile hope that they could navigate this, that they could honor their feelings without destroying everything else in their lives. Lucas glanced at her, and for a moment, everything else faded. The storm outside, the bookstore, Marcus waiting to return, even the weight of his responsibilities as a father. There was only this moment, this connection, this truth, that couldn't be denied. And he knew, deep down, that the next steps they took would define not just their relationship, but the future of everyone they loved. Because some connections didn't wait for permission. Some connections refused to be ignored, and for Lucas and Maya, that realization was both exhilarating and terrifying. The bookstore door opened sharply, letting in a rush of cold evening air. Lucas's stomach dropped before he even saw who it was. Marcus. He didn't rush in, didn't yell, didn't storm the store. Instead, he stood in the doorway, shoulders squared, eyes narrowing like he could see everything inside them, their thoughts, their intentions, the secret moments of the past 2 weeks. "Sit," Marcus said, voice calm but heavy, commanding attention now. Lucas and Maya obeyed immediately, hearts hammering. Every instinct told Lucas to shield Maya, to take responsibility, to brace for the anger he knew was coming. He had imagined this conversation 100 times in his head, rehearsed every word, every apology. But reality was sharper, heavier, and impossible to prepare for. "I've seen enough," Marcus began, pacing slowly in front of the counter. "Mrs. Patterson saw you two at the river park last week. Kissing. Holding hands. You thought I wouldn't find out?" Quote. Lucas's throat tightened. "Marcus, I don't want excuses." Marcus cut him off, hand raised. "I want honesty, now. Every word, every intention." Maya took a shaky breath, voice trembling but steady. "Marcus, we didn't mean to hide this from you to hurt you. We wanted to be honest with ourselves first before telling you, so no one got hurt unnecessarily." Marcus's jaw clenched. "Do you even realize what you've done? You've undermined my trust, Lucas. You've betrayed me by not telling me immediately. And you, Maya, you let it happen. You didn't stop it. Not even once." "It wasn't like that," Lucas said, heart pounding. "We didn't do anything wrong. We didn't cross any lines that matter. We felt something real, something we couldn't ignore." Marcus's fists clenched at his sides. "Real? You call this real? You call hiding it for 2 weeks real? You call putting me in the dark real?" "Yes," Maya said softly, tears forming. "Because it is real, and we didn't want to hurt you. We care about you, Marcus, more than anything. But we also care about each other, and pretending nothing exists isn't going to fix anyone." Lucas's voice added, steady but urgent. "Marcus, you've trusted me with everything for 15 years. I'm not asking you to understand, not yet, but I am asking you to hear this. I care about Maya in a way that's real, respectful, and serious. And I'm not going to step away from that." Marcus paused, jaw tight, eyes flashing. "Do you understand what this means? Emma looks up to you, Lucas. You're her dad. She trusts you implicitly. And now you're involved with my sister. You're risking everything. Everything." "I know," Lucas said, voice low, controlled. "And I've thought about that every single day. But pretending this doesn't exist, that would hurt her too. Emma deserves honesty, integrity, and love that's genuine. I'm not asking for forgiveness yet. I'm asking for a chance to show that this can be done responsibly." Maya stepped closer to him, her hand finding his briefly under the counter. "Marcus, I love you. You're my brother. I would never intentionally do anything to hurt you. But I can't ignore what I feel for Lucas anymore. I'm tired of hiding it, of pretending it doesn't exist." Marcus's face softened for a fraction of a second, then hardened again. "And what if this ends badly? What if she gets hurt? What if you get hurt? How am I supposed to watch that?" "We'll be careful," Lucas said, meeting his friend's gaze. "We won't make reckless decisions. We'll protect Emma. And we'll protect you too. I promise. But we can't pretend nothing is happening. That would be worse than facing the consequences now." Marcus exhaled, pacing slowly. He ran a hand through his hair, jaw tight, chest heaving slightly. "You've put me in a position I didn't ask for, but I can see that you care about her, and that she cares about you. And maybe that's something worth trying to understand, instead of immediately tearing apart." Maya's eyes glistened. "Thank you. That's all we're asking. Time, space, and honesty." Lucas added quietly, "We're not asking for your blessing. We're asking for your understanding eventually. We know it's complicated, and we know it hurts, but we're not hiding anymore." Marcus sat down slowly on a stool, jaw still tight, voice quiet. "I can't say I forgive you yet. I can't say I'm not angry. But I can say I want to try to see if this works without destroying everything else. For Emma, for our friendship, for all of it. But I need honesty from now on. No more secrets." "We can do that," Lucas said. "We will," Maya confirmed. Marcus looked at them both for a long moment. "And if this doesn't work out, you handle it like adults. No secrets. No putting me in the middle. Promise me that." "I promise," Lucas said. Maya nodded. "I promise." A fragile calm settled over the store. Marcus rubbed his face, exhaling slowly. "We'll take it day by day. Keep me informed. And don't screw this up. I'll be watching." Lucas allowed himself a small, ironic smile. Noted. Maya reached for his hand again, and this time, Lucas held it firmly. A quiet acknowledgement that, even under Marcus's scrutiny, they weren't alone. The bookstore felt normal again. Almost. But nothing would ever be the same. The trust was fragile, the emotions raw, the consequences real. Yet they had survived the storm, at least for now. Lucas glanced at Maya, and she gave him a small, tentative smile. It was terrifying, it was exhilarating, and it was undeniably theirs. Because some connections don't wait for permission. Some connections refuse to be ignored. And for Lucas and Maya, the hardest part was just beginning. The day after the confrontation felt unreal. Lucas drove Emma to school, the sun cutting sharp streaks through the windshield, but the weight in his chest made everything feel heavier than the morning light suggested. Maya's messages pinged constantly, small check-ins, cautious smiles in text form, but Lucas didn't respond immediately. He wanted to savor the calm before the storm, to breathe before the next step. By afternoon, he found himself standing outside Marcus's bookstore again, Emma in tow, her backpack bouncing against her shoulders. Marcus was inside, arranging a display of new arrivals, still keeping the air of control he always carried. But his eyes softened when he saw Lucas and Emma. "You two ready?" Marcus asked, voice clipped but neutral. Lucas nodded. "Yeah, ready." Quote. Maya arrived a few moments later, the familiar click of her heels on the wooden floor punctuating his heartbeat. She looked at Lucas with a small, nervous smile. He returned it, the unspoken promise of trust passing between them. Marcus motioned for them to sit at a table in the corner. "All right. Let's talk." Lucas exchanged a glance with Maya, fingers brushing lightly under the table, a subtle reminder that they were united, and whatever happened next, they would face it together. "I've thought about last night," Marcus began, voice measured. "I'm still processing, still angry, still worried about Emma, about the trust, about all of it. But I also see that you care about each other, deeply, and you're willing to handle this responsibly." Maya nodded. "We are. And we want to do it the right way. For Emma, for you, for each other. No secrets, no lies. Just honesty from here on out." Marcus studied them both for a long moment, jaw tight. Then he exhaled slowly. "Fine. I can't say I'm fully okay with this yet, but I can say I'm willing to see it happen without letting it ruin everything else. That's the best I can offer right now, day by day." Lucas let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "Thank you," he said quietly. Marcus's expression softened slightly. "Emma comes first, always. You two figure this out without letting it affect her. And if it works, fine. If it doesn't, you handle it like adults. No drama, no games, no lying." "We will," Lucas said. Maya added, "Absolutely." For the first time in days, Lucas felt a small, fragile peace. It wasn't perfect. The trust had been tested, the friendship strained, the consequences real. But they had survived. And more importantly, they had chosen honesty over convenience, connection over fear. As Marcus went back to organizing shelves, Lucas turned to Maya. "So now what?" She smiled faintly, fingers still entwined with his. "We take it slow, step by step, no rushing. We rebuild trust with Marcus, with Emma, with ourselves. And we don't pretend that we're not feeling this." Quote. "I like that plan," Lucas said, heart lighter than it had been in weeks. They stood together, a small island of calm in the bookstore that had seen so many stories unfold, and Lucas realized that some of life's most complicated chapters were also the most necessary. They had risked, they had confessed, they had endured judgment and tension, and in doing so had claimed something worth fighting for. Outside, the city carried on, unaware of the quiet transformation happening in a little bookstore corner. Inside, Lucas and Maya allowed themselves a small smile, a shared glance, a brush of hands that said more than words could. And then, softly, Lucas spoke, the words that would linger long after the moment, the words that might echo in Emma's understanding, in Marcus's acceptance, in Maya's heart, and even in his own. Some promises don't have expiration dates. And some people are worth every risk. Maya's smile widened, tears glinting at the corners of her eyes. "Then we take it one day at a time," she said. Lucas nodded, feeling the truth of it in every fiber of himself. One day at a time, together. They stepped out of the bookstore into the evening light, fingers still entwined, hearts still cautious, but a new chapter already beginning. a chapter full of trust, love, and the kind of bravery it takes to follow the heart, even when the path is uncertain. And somewhere in the quiet, Lucas knew that for the first time in years, he wasn't just surviving life. He was living it with someone who made the risk worth taking.